everyone, welcome to Delhi and to day 4 of competition at the first Shooting World Cup of 2019 at the Dr. Karni Singh shooting range. Busy day 2, 3 finals, no time really to see the fine sights of India and its capital. Charu Sharma will confirm they were well worth taking in.
For sure, Richard, and it's a shame that we've had such a busy time here that you may not have gotten around much, but hopefully that can change. That's India Gate right in the middle of New Delhi, quite an attraction. And of course, that road there goes straight to the presidential home, should we say, not palace. Of course, plenty of other monuments, temples, you can take your pick. That's the ISKCON in east of Kailash, and many others to choose from. But it's not just temples and places of worship, but plenty of other heritage sites as well. History in Delhi.
And I've loved the hustle and bustle of just everyday Delhi. It's fascinating, and hopefully a fascinating day here at a very well appointed shooting range. We've really enjoyed our time here. Hope you've enjoyed all the finals. We've had some absolute corkers, and let's hope we've got some more today, because we've got 3 finals today, and it should be a really good day of top quality shooting. It has been so far. It bodes well for the rest of the year, of course, as we head towards next year, the Olympic year as well. And that's what we have. I believe it's the 26th of February, which means it's 50-metre rifle, 3 positions for women, then the 10-metre air pistol for women, and then a very exciting event, the 25-metre rapid-fire pistol for men.
Well, the last one has morphed over the years, and as you said, it's become very exciting now. It's like a combat, a duel, and I'm sure those who've tuned in would love to stay till that 25-metre rapid fire for men, because it's very exciting indeed.
Yes, we've got a good day ahead of us, a pretty good crowd. I think there's some school kids heading back into the area as well. But let's first of all go back a day and talk about the 10-metre air rifle men for final. It was just one final yesterday, a light work day for everybody really, and what a final it was for Sergei Kamensky of Russia. He really stood out in that final.
Virtually start to finish for him, although Andrei Link of Germany was actually leading for a while. And of course the 2 Chinese did very well, but the more fancy Chinese had to settle for bronze. So here we are, just a quick reminder of how it went yesterday. Kamensky is silver in the 50-metre 3 position for men, and only just beaten to it by Istvan Penny, but here he was in the class of 1.
Certainly was. Everyone else trying to hang on to his rather stiff coattails. Of course, using those jackets to help their stability. But look at the calmness. His routine is the same for every shot, whether he's doing well or he's not doing well. Not so good for Amir Nekunan of Iran, first one to go in 8th place. And then, well, normally he is as solid as you like, but Okada of Japan had to settle for 7th. Grigorin, he was 6th, and they all of a sudden were being eliminated straight away and in quick order. Settling for 5th, Andrei Link of Germany. He's normally a real contender for the podium places.
Well, yes, and you mentioned that Grigorian's actually shifting events from the 50-metre prone now to the 10-metre air rifle, so he should be pretty happy with just getting into the final. But here we are, lifting his rifle in acceptance of his fabulous performance, Sergei Kamensky.
Another medal for a very full trophy cabinet, I am sure. So, shades of the order of the day. Did you bring yours? No?
Well, yeah, it's a long event. 3 finals and 3 sets of medals to be given away today. 50-metre 3-position rifle for men, then for women, beg your pardon, 10-metre air pistol for women. And we've been talking up the 25-metre rapid-fire pistol for men because it's turned into quite an exciting event. But all of them are. And in a sense, of course, this marathon of the 50-metre 3-position has its own charm and drama as we move from position to position.
Yes, and funnily enough, I was reading the Hindustan Times this morning, as you do. Not very happy with the fact that the Indians haven't made it into the final, which is a shame. We've got 2 Indian gold medals already. But this is how they line up, and there's some real high-quality athletes. And I don't know who you would pick out there, but certainly a lot of quality.
Well, I wouldn't move too far away from the Chinese, that's for sure. And of course, we got the world number 6, Nina Kristen, so she's expected to do pretty well. We have a world number 9 as well, Jolene Beer. So, yeah, some of the best shooters in the world. As you can expect, it is the ISSF World Cup, no less, the first of 2019, here in Delhi.
Funnily enough, they were having an interview in the paper with Raymond Dubovec, the male 3-position shooter. He's gone back from 50-meter to 3-position. He's been shooting for decades, and we call it, you know, the marathon event of shooting. I quite like it. He called it the King event.
Good for him. Well, he's 55 and a bit, and has been around the world of shooting for very long. Still hopes to get an Olympic place in Tokyo. Well, of course, it's a very technical event, no doubt about it, and we just want to give you a glimpse into the technicality that goes on in terms of velocity. It'll be a good listen.
Velocity test is done only in the 25-meter rapid fire pistols event, where before the start of the competition, before the start of the qualification event, any one athlete is selected, and his 10 ammunitions from the box, which is actually the ammunition which is going to use in the competition. Those 10 ammunitions are taken and they are kept into the sealed pack. The two things are done. One is the weight of the ammunitions, and the other one is the velocity. It has to get passed in 2 stages.
When the series is over, we announce that you are selected for the velocity test. The shooter and his coach may, along with him, come to the velocity meter and be tested. We load the magazine, minimum 3 shots, and we fire. The reading should be noted down.
The velocity speed of the .22 caliber ammunition has to be not less than 250 meters per second.
If both attempt not pass or less than 250, then shooter is disqualified.
Fascinating stuff.
Will leave the
Jaru,
competition.
I will be asking questions later
And those
on
eliminations
that,
will
you can
continue
just see
after
it's not
5
just the
single
final
shots
8.
after each.
You know, it is for all sorts of competitors, not only qualification, but making sure everything is right. Otherwise, you go home without even being able to qualify.
And that would be terrible, wouldn't it? I mean, there's so many other parameters here, and these are the best in the world. So we presume that almost everything, or everything really, why almost, should be in order with the clothing, with the equipment, with the ammunition in particular, as we saw there, the velocity of the bullet, not less than 250 meters per second, mind you, Richard, so watch it there.
Well, it is, you know, and sometimes, you know, there are disqualifications, and then there are, after that, appeals, and it goes to and fro. No one's trying to get an advantage on purpose. I think sometimes it just accidentally happens. So, you know, it is one of those things.
Yeah, I must mention, though, Richard, that, you know, I went through the rules once again. They are very elaborate. You know, they seem to have taken care of just about every situation, and that's what the rule book is all about. Yet, I'm sure there are occasions when they have to sort of meet and consult and discuss and then arrive at some sort of common consensus opinion, which doesn't leave the shooters in a good spot, because normally you'd like everything to be mentioned, every eventuality.
Well, they're still having their sighting shots, the athletes. Just a reminder, kneeling, 3 series of 5 shots to begin with, then 3 series of 5 shots in the prone position, the lying down position, and then of course we go to standing. We start to lose athletes after the 7th series of 5 shots. We then quite rapidly lose athletes until after 45 shots we know who has gold.
You know, that's not too bad, Richard, because, I mean, for the main part, up to 90% of the final contest, looks like everybody will be in there.
Rumour has it, I'm not entirely sure on that, but rumour has it you were there.
Oh.
So I will be calling upon 2 of you in the audience to take part in our quiz, and I can reveal we have had an upgrade from a certain point of view. Some might consider this a downgrade. We've had an upgrade in the prize.
These athletes, they're just getting sure, looking at where their shots are going, adjusting their sights, making sure that when the competition starts, they've got the greatest chance possible. Athletes from all countries coming to watch, out of interest, out of passion.
Well, there are athletes from 60 countries, this being a World Cup, and as many as 500 competitors. And I dare
30
say that it's a very tight bunch, and almost everybody knows everybody else. And it's a lovely bunch. I see athletes mixing from just about every country. They seem to be very friendly. And even during the finals, we see that there's a lot of, well, let's just say bonhomie and camaraderie. They know each other very well. And even though it's extremely competitive, extreme precision to be used all the time, but I sense that this is the kind of sport where there's a very tight bunch of friendly athletes.
Unload. Athletes may remain in
Exciting
position,
shots
but turn
are
heads
over.
and
We're
faces
ready
towards
to
spectators.
welcome the athletes.
Well, hello again, New Delhi. Namaste. Here comes the formal bit. Ladies and gentlemen, the organising committee of the ISSF World Cup New Delhi 2019 and the International Shooting Sport Federation welcome you to the Dr. Kani Singh shooting ranges. The final competition for the 50-metre rifle 3 positions women's event will now begin. So let's meet the athletes. On firing point A, representing the People's Republic of China, with 4 World Cup medals, 3 in the 3 positions, consisting of 2 bronze and a gold, is Chun Dong-chi. On firing point B, representing Kazakhstan. She represented her country at the Rio Olympic Games, and this is her 4th final appearance at a World Cup. On the hunt for her first medal here in Delhi is Yelizaveta Karol. And on firing point C, representing the People's Republic of China, the 21-year-old is back in New Delhi after taking World Cup 10-meter gold in 2017, which took her medal haul across the board up to 5. That's the World Cup board. It's She Meng Yao. And on to firing point D, representing Germany. She has 3 positions at World Cup gold from Bangkok 2016, and since then she's added Munich bronze in 2017, and in the same year took away World Cup final gold from this very finals haul. It's Jolene Bia. Moving on over to firing point E, representing Switzerland. The world number 6 made the 3 positions Rio Olympic Games final, and today is looking for her first World Cup medal. So let's give a Delhi welcome to Nina Kristen. On firing point F, representing Mongolia. With 2 Asian Games medals, 1 bronze and a gold. She also took World Cup bronze away from Rio 2016. She's Nandinzia Ganhoyuk. We're now on firing point G, where we have representing Slovenia. Last year, she appeared in 3 finals at World Cups, clinching the bronze in Changwon, and she's took that form straight into 2019. It's Jiva Vosak. And last but not least, on a firing point H, representing Serbia. The 21-year-old has competed at both European and World Championships, but today marks her debut final appearance at a World Cup. Let's give it up for Sanja Vukasinovic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that the jury member in charge of this final here today is Mr. David Goodfellow of Great Britain. And our Chief Range Officer for this final is Mr. Saeed Tosif of India. There we go, let the final begin.
Take your positions.
So here we are all set for the final 50-meter 3 position for women. Just a bit of a marathon, or as also been described, the king of events. It begins with kneeling, goes on to prone, and then ends with the more Well, the most difficult part of the three, the standing, by which time they're a little tired, I suppose, and when you stand, there's almost no anchor position except the 2 feet and, of course, the left hand. So can get really rough towards the end, this event.
Yeah, the prone is the easiest of all three because you've got more stability. Of course, you don't need, you'll see them, some are actually taking off the jackets or certainly undoing them and unzipping the back of the trousers just to be more comfortable in the prone position. Kneeling, again, you can see they've got the tether on the left, normally for the athletes on the left arm to the rifle. The sights will change as well because of the head position. When you're standing, your head position's a lot
For
higher.
the first competition series,
it'll all change. We'll talk you through the changes. Remember, kneeling, 3 series of 5 shots, 200 seconds per shot, and that's how far they have to go. It's a long way and a very small black dot at the end of it. They'll take 7 minutes to change at the end of this kneeling series of 3, and then another 9 minutes to change from prone to standing. That's the most difficult change. And they have a box next to them as we get underway, just to let you know, everything has to be in that box. Screwdrivers, spanners, spare sights. You can't get anything from away from that box. So, you know, it's a real challenge of organisation as well as skill.
As I've said before, you need to be part engineer, but it's the changeover period where you need to do it quickly enough, yet not too quickly, maintain your poise, continue that whole Zen aspect of shooting. What I really love, Richard, is watching that is the complexity of the rear sight. It seems very technically advanced. Of course, the whole rifle is, every single instrument, but just that rear sight looks very complicated.
Yeah, Coral making it look easy, of course, as the idea is with these athletes. It is expensive at this level, of course. These rifles, thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of euros generally is what we trade in, because most of the manufacturers are based in Europe, some in America, of course, as well. Dvorak starting well as well. Chen, actually, by the way, a couple of 9.7 her last one. She won't be happy with that. The woman on the left of the picture, as you saw her, this is Kristen.
Wow, a 10.9 for the Swiss, and she is one of the higher rated shooters here. World number 6, has that 6th place in Rio, got to the final. Very disappointed not being the podium, but of course, good opportunity here to be back with the gold.
Yeah, she competes in 10-meter air rifle as well, but it's much more successful in this competition, the long form competition, and you can see very good shot of the recoil on the rifle in the foreground, and you know whether it's a good shot or not. If it's a straight back recoil, that's a sign of really good position and a good shot as well. It's Chen and Shi who are struggling at the moment, the 2 Chinese athletes in A and C, and they're down at the bottom at the moment. Shi can't buy a shot in the 10, 9.4 the last one for her.
Well, she's proven me wrong, and she has said, well, can't get too far from the Chinese, but eventually they may move on a bit. Gang Kuyang, who began badly, has moved up to 3rd after that first series, so she's in a better spot. But Nina, Kristen and Dvorak, very, very good to begin with. Nina particularly, and then pretty close thereafter.
Yeah, it's that's how it's looking at the moment. Chen rallying with the last few shots, but
for the next competition series,
Dvorak,
load
very close together, and Vukasinovic as well. But what you want to do is start well, get some credit in the bank, and then, because some of these athletes will not like standing, it won't be, and some athletes you'll see coming through the ranks, of course, they'll just want to hold on through the first 2 disciplines, and then if they're close enough, they're in with a chance. So you don't really know until we start to get losing athletes, and that happens, of course, after the 8th series of 5 shots. The first 2 will leave then.
Well, after that first series of 5, kneeling, all pretty close between 2nd and 7th. Only Kristen, that is moving up, clear about 1.5 points, and right at the bottom, a little separation as well. But it's good that the middle is really well stacked, just 0.4 or so the difference between those. And the second series will let us know whether Kristen might suffer a bit.
Well, she started off with a 9.7, but a 10.3 is back onto form for the Swiss athlete, the 25-year-old from Magliguen. marvellous part of the world. Nice facilities as well. Chen is struggling, the Chinese athletes. Not managed, I think one just nibbled into the 10 ring, but this is the woman who is, apart from that first shot in this series, looking really, really good. And you can see around the face, plastic shields so they don't get distracted. They can cover an eye, sometimes both eyes are open, but very rarely one eye is shielded. You've got the hats, not quite hats, either, more sort of caps that they wear. And the little blinker on the other eye just means that they don't have to shut that eye, and it's a little bit more comfortable for them over the sort of hour or so in this final. Beer rallying, that's good for her because she's been struggling both in the first series and the previous series. What is she, just 24 years of age, and we mentioned she's world rank number 9.
Stop.
She's kept herself at the top of the pile as Kristen. She's looking very cool and collected. Still China struggling. Mongolian athlete separating the two Chinese athletes. Beer with a few better shots has pulled herself up into 5th place, but it is Switzerland from Kazakhstan in the form of Karol and the Slovenian Dvorak in 3rd place. But it's still really close, and to
for
be honest
the next
with you,
competition
we're
series,
so early on.
load.
It's like the early stages of a 10,000 metre race. They're all in a pack. Will someone be able
Start.
to extend their lead? Well, this is the woman in possession at the moment. As we get ready for our 3rd and final series of 5 shots rather, in the kneeling position. Clock is counting down. Just over 3 minutes at the moment. Good start from Dvorak. Christian bang on again, 10.7. And Chen really struggling, 9.8, and just starting to come adrift at the back of the pack. Luka Sinovic of Serbia in 3rd at the moment, having a pretty good time of it. She's on the far right of the shooters as the spectators look. Just 21 years of age, but already ranked 22 in the world, and this is her first World Cup final, so let's see what she can do. It might be that she just announces herself in a blaze of glory in a podium place. 10.9, that's what you need. Can't get any more than a 10.9. Very closely aligned, these athletes, and they won't be worrying about what's happening to the left or to the right. They'll just be worrying. You can see there Kristen just taking a little breather, looking into the distance and then refocusing again to take her next shot. Her last one was a 9.4, so she needed to kind of refocus. And Kuyak of Mongolia, she's slowly pulling herself up. She's had a few good shots. The last one a 9.4, just spoiling this series a little bit. She shot 4, but she'll hope to regroup for her 5th shot.
Well, the two Chinese continue to be in trouble along with the Mongolian. Well, it is 50 meters, so every once in a while their grouping goes off, and you can understand why, because of the distance. For all things considered,
Stop.
Kristen's done very well, but it's
Unload.
Vukasinovic who has pulled up with
7
a
minutes.
final shot,
Change
10.5.
over.
Korol still very
And
much a part of the mix,
sighting time.
0.7
Start.
behind Kristen, and Dvorak just 0.3 behind. So the top 3 or 4 are pretty close, and then of course the Chinese and the Mongolian have a lot of work to do, more than a point, 1.2 behind after the first 3 series of kneeling.
And this is how they look after the first 15 shots, and Vukasinovic, astonishingly good grouping, apart from one to the left, but you know, in the 10s, the high 10s, and that's why she's pulled herself ahead of Christian and Korol. Christian, a couple of wayward shots. She won't be happy with one in the low 9s, and that's hurt her a little bit, as they now have 7 minutes to change over from the kneeling position to the prone position. So the barrel and stop stays the same. The sights and that sort of thing will all change. The cheek plate will move as well. Screwdrivers out. Like you say, Cherry, you've got to be an engineer as well as a marksman, or markswoman in this case.
Well, of course, it's easy to say that they must have done this 1,000 times, so they know exactly what to do and how long it might take. Yet, especially if they haven't shot well, perhaps there would be some nerves. Well, I've got to quickly do this and get back and get to my sighting and try and pull up again. So there are possibly other things going on in the minds apart from just changing the equipment, also about what do I need to do next. But they, luckily, I think 7 minutes and, of course, later 9 does seem to be enough time to not only change equipment, but also have enough time to change your stance, get some sighting in, and get your breath back to where you need it to.
Absolutely, it's all about getting yourself composed again, getting enough sighting shots in. So you need to be quick here, but not so quick that you're going to make a mistake, or that your pulse rate is so high you're struggling to bring it back down again. And, well, the faster you do this, the more sighting time you have. 7 minutes for this, of course, and then 9 minutes for the more difficult transition from the prone up to the standing position, of course. And what you'll see also is not only the rifle, there's the cheek plate being put back in a slightly different position. And of course, if it's your first final, hopefully you'll have practiced this, because it's very different in qualification. But I'm sure in junior ranks you will have experienced the final format as well. And well, they all look as calm as cucumbers, don't they?
Well, it's the Zen sport, isn't it? Just everyone looks so cool. But a little word about Sanja Vukusunovic from Serbia. She's only 21. And I think we have established that she's taking part in or it's the first appearance in a ISSF World Cup final. Just to clarify, she did take part in the World Championship. Finished 13 at Changwon last year and 14th at Seoul in 2017. But quite a moment for her as the youngster makes it through to her first World Cup final, top 6.
Well, I think the only final she's actually been in, looking at her history, is in the European Championships a couple of years ago in the air rifle, the 10-meter air rifle. So this is completely different, but you know, she's out on the far right as the spectators look, and she is hoping to be far out in front of the other the other athletes as well, and she's looking very, very calm.
Well, the two who are kneeling, of course, they'll be prone very soon, are the Chinese, and they're, well, virtually bottom place right now, She and Chen. And in the middle of that is the Mongolian Gan Kuyak. So these are the three in trouble for the moment, but and 0.9 behind the fourth. So that's quite a distance.
And this is the second place athlete, of course, Nina Christen of Switzerland, but she's only 0.4 behind. And you know, we will see whether she's just held on and is actually spectacular in the standing, or whether perhaps she may have peaked, because it does ebb and flow, that's for sure. You've got to keep your eye on the first series and just see how they're getting on here.
So just from the clock, a reminder that they tend to get ready in about 3 or 4 minutes, and that gives them another 3 or 3.5 minutes to get their sighting going, adjust their position, prone position, to make sure they're absolutely comfortable. And looks to me, Richard, that that's just about enough time.
Yep, it's funny enough, Vukusunovic, who's the only one who's still adjusting everything, getting herself ready, but I reckon she'll be fine when we get through to this prone series. Still 2.5 minutes to wait, so let's have a little look back at the start of this competition. And it's a very weird waddle in, isn't it, with those very starched
it's a
jackets.
Pretty stiff gait, and it takes a while for people to get used to it, but just a reminder that that stiffness in the clothing is all permitted. But there's no extra support, as it were. It's all very finely tuned and very heavily supervised.
Absolutely, and when it comes to standing, the suits come into their own, and the shoes that they wear. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But it was a really good start from Vukusunovic, but it was Christian who made the early running. But yeah, it was a good run in that last series from the Serbian, and that has left her 0.4 ahead of Christian. But Korol, the Kazakhstan athlete, not far behind, and Dvorak of Slovenia at her heels, just 0.3 further behind. It's a problem for the two Chinese athletes. They're quite a long way behind, as is the athlete from Mongolia, Gan Kuyak.
Well, just a mention of the lady in position B. That's Korol from Kazakhstan. She's 24 now and is looking for a first podium place in the ISSF World Cup. She placed 4th at Munich 2015, 5th in Munich again 2016. That's in the ISSF World Cups of the 50-meter 3 position. Rio placed 26th, so that didn't go too well for her, but she's improved a bit since then, and of course she's now placed 3rd with a pretty good possibility of finishing the first podium in the ISSF World Cup.
Yeah, she's been in World Cup finals before. You say a couple in Munich and in Fort Benning, also in the World Cup final, but was
30 seconds.
first to take the seat next to the coach in that situation. So she'll be hoping to do better there, and she certainly at the moment is looking pretty good.
Well, just about ready now for the 3 series of 5 shots in prone position.
And there is our leader, looking fairly calm and composed.
Now this is the highest scoring because of the many anchors, because of being prone, and we expect, of course, the scoring to be better, but sometimes these athletes do have, or should we say they're specialists. You know, some do better in kneeling, some do much better in prone, and some are standing professionals as well.
And if you're a refugee from the 50-meter prone, which of course has been taking off the Olympic schedule and off the World Cups as well, then this will be your chance to shine.
For the next
Absolutely
competition series,
poised is Kristen with the ammunition ready to go in. 5.6mm rifle, of course, maximum weight of 8 kilograms, and it will have been weighed. Each one of these rifles, every time they compete, is weighed to make sure there is no advantage. That's what you've got to take with you. And well, I wouldn't look at a place in an auto garage, would it?
Well, the magic box. Everything's got to be in there. It's all checked before and after to ensure that there's nothing illegal in there. So, 3 more series of 5 shots each. Prone position, 50-meter, 3-position final. And they have begun well, haven't they?
The Chinese
sure, the
athletes.
Chinese.
Yeah.
She's right up there with the 10.8. I knew she'd be back.
You staked your reputation on it. Just a reminder, though, even though it's called it easier, it's all things are relative, of course. The rules try and make it a little bit more difficult because there's less time, 150 seconds, and that obviously is to just give you the hurry up. So there's a few seconds less.
Well, there's the other Chinese, Chen Dongxi, who has also got a 10.7, so they are now rapidly moving up into 6th and 5th for now. Of course, plenty of shots still left, while Gang Kuyang from Mongolia continues to struggle a bit.
Well, it's
and
Beer.
Jolene Beer is the one in a little bit of trouble now.
If you shoot an 8.7 in your prone position, you're going to be in a whole heap of trouble and pain. And at the moment, she is.
Disappointed, Richard. 8.7 prone and 9.6 to follow. So mentally, she has certainly let that 8.7 affect her, which is a shame.
In A, on that far side, is Chen, who's just starting to motor up the rankings. She's in 5th at the moment. Of course, we'll just have to wait until the end of the first series to see how it all shakes out. Christian back at the top. Dvorak down into 3rd with Korol of Kazakhstan, who is shooting, the last one, a 10.6. That'll help as well. There is the Swiss athlete, and she is certainly getting it into the 10 ring. 10.6 the last for her.
Well, Shi of China continues to pile it on now. Her grouping is magnificent. 3 shots very, very close to the bull, last being 10.8. So the Chinese certainly moving up very smartly. Chen Dongxi.
Yeah, one of those athletes who doesn't need the cap, doesn't mind a little bit of outside interference, but other sort of effects. Everyone else quite like to blinker themselves off from the outside world. And yeah, quite interesting there. A real horror series for Beer, who is adrift at the bottom. Finished with a 10, but that was about as good as it got for the German athlete. Kristen of Switzerland, Korol of Kazakhstan, Dvorak of Slovenia, the top 3 at the moment, but keep an eye out for those Chinese athletes who are just starting to creep up. And Vukanizovic will be disappointed to go from top to 4th in one series.
Yeah, well, Korol and Kristen moving apart just a bit. Still very close between Dvorak and Vukasinovic. And also Shi Mengyao moving up pretty smartly. Just 0.1 behind Chen. The 2 Chinese moving up for sure. The Mongolian continues to be in a little bit of trouble. And Jolene Beer, well, we know she's a much better shooter than that last series. Wonder if she can now claw her way back to get out of that pretty disturbing last spot, number 8.
Coral with the red cap in position B. In second place at the moment, but started with a 9.6. That won't help. Chen with a 10.7. Well, here they come. Chen up into 4th place at the moment. 10.8 from Gankuyag of Mongolia. That'll help her efforts not to be one of the first 2 athletes to leave this competition. There's confirmation of her last shot. Can she follow it up? That's the big question. A couple of 10s will certainly help her. And another one here. 10.2. That's not a bad effort from the Mongolian athlete.
So Coral continues to do very well. Vukasinovic still somewhere in the middle, but Chen Dongqi is the one moving up very smartly in position A. We'll get to her soon. Very good grouping. The last shot is 10.2 though, so that'll be a little disappointing, but you can't argue with the 10.2 ordinarily.
Well, there's Coral. Hand didn't seem that steady, but when she holds that rifle, she is very calm and collected, and she is in second at the moment with some really good shots. 1 in the 9 ring in this series, but the other 2 in the 10, and so she'll just need a couple more. Got that Chinese athlete Chen on the left-hand side, and she on the other side. So sandwiched between the 2 Chinese athletes, and Chen is up to 3rd. Well, there we go. I think we can assume that kneeling was not her favourite position there.
No, it wasn't, but how smartly has she moved up to now, currently 3rd. We'll see how she ends up after this series of 5. But she's doing something very right for sure. Wonderful grouping. The last shot, 10.8 for Chen Dongqi.
And well, Christian, again, there or thereabouts, just going to the top of the rankings with that 10.9. Excellent stuff from her. She's hanging on there and keeping the form going. Vukasinovic and Dvorak dropping down. They'll be very disappointed, but that woman there is hanging on with Chen now in 2nd place. Almost a point behind, it has to be said. But when they get to standing, I imagine this charge will continue.
So very smartly moving up is Chen Dongqi of China in 2nd spot, just a little ahead of Coral. But Nina Kristen doing very well to move up 0.9 ahead. So that's a pretty smart lead. And the other Chinese also, Shi Mingyao, sandwiched in there with Vukasinovic, who has slipped from being right on top earlier on after the kneeling. But that's not too bad, not too far. Still plenty of shots left. And Jolene Beer is the one who continues to be in trouble. And that's a little strange, though, because she does have a gold in the World Cup final in New Delhi in 2017. So not only is she celebrated as a gold, but also right here in New Delhi. So there's something about geography as well. She is possibly comfortable here at this venue.
Yeah, certainly athletes prefer certain venues. If you've won here before, you'd expect to do well, but she cannot buy a 10 at the moment. This woman can, though. And that's what she will be able to look at. Once she's finished focusing on the shot, she will look across. There you go, little look across, and she will not be happy with a 9.9.
Well, following a 10.9, so she was center of center in that last shot of the last series, but begins poorly, does Nina Kristen, but she did have a bit of a lead, and that's going to be whittled away. If the Chinese continue well, then we could have a real jam right on top.
Especially when Chen next to her was firing a 10.7. We'll see how that continues. Dvorak still struggling, just getting a 10.3 after a 9 shot. Beer, I think, well, she's much better in this series. Both of her shots been in the 10 ring, but the Chinese athletes are the athletes who are looking pretty good at the moment. Certainly Chen, who's just gone top of the pile with a 10.8, 0.3 ahead of Christian of Switzerland.
Richard, you're forcing me to say I told you so. Not over yet, though.
He was mopping his brow. There's a slight sweat coming on, but I think absolutely you knew, like most people knew, that the Chinese do very often start slowly but come storming through the field.
Well, Chen, of course, does have a World Cup gold in Gabala in 2015, but that's some time back. Of course, bronzes in Beijing and Munich as well. A very accomplished shooter. Well, she's 30, so she's seen plenty of action, and now smartly moves up to the top spot. Kristen, by the way, falling to 3rd for now as Coral, next to Chen, continues to shoot very accurately and has a wonderful grouping in this series.
Coral doing well. Just saw her there with the blonde mop of hair. Christian can't group this. They're all over the place at the moment, but a 10.7 on her last shot. That will help her. That brings her back up at the moment into second place. Pretty tight at the top. What can Chen do? She has one more shot and 14 seconds to get it off. And she has 10.5. Will make sure that she is 0.6 ahead of everybody else. 10.7 was a good shot from Christian, but she will be ruining the fact that there were a couple in the nines.
Yeah, there was a 9.9 after that 10.9. So Kristen moves down to third, but that's equal third, or equal second, should we say, with Coral. And just ahead, 0.6 ahead, is Chen from China. Vukasinovic, well, she's falling well behind. In fact, the rest of the pack's falling well behind, so we may just have our podium 3, which is the top 3 at the moment. And Jolene Beer continues to, after those 2 poor shots, be right at the bottom of the field. I wonder what's going through her mind, although we have standing left now.
Yeah, you want to be solid through these 2, but if you're a specialist in standing, then you will still think you might have hope. People like Shi of China, of course, and Vukasinovic certainly 2.4 behind the top 3, well, certainly the person in equal second, Christian and Coral. But you know what? You know, they've got enough series to get through before we start losing athletes that they might possibly haul that back. 9 minutes now, as you can see, a lot of changing needing, so a bit of extra time. Needs the shooting stand, of course. And then back to that all-important box, of course, of tricks and the change of the sight. A new sight goes in. It will be a slightly higher sight because of the head will be higher. And you need to be quick, but you need to be precise because you need it as you like it. Otherwise, you're going to start dropping points. The stock changing, or at least coming out and then going back on again because the barrel and stock stay the same. But certainly the sight's changing, and a lot of change needed. All the moment they're doing this, that red safety cord inside their rifles, just to indicate that that rifle is safe. Of course, you will be in all heaps of trouble if you don't follow the safety protocols as well.
Well, I must admit, Richard, I think safety-wise, the ISSF have got it absolutely right. And you know, there are so many checks and balances just to ensure that there's no element of danger at any stage at all. And all these guys who are right on top of the shooting world, of course, have done this many, many times. So there's virtually no danger of any kind of mishap, which is how we want to see the sport, because these guys are top athletes. They pay a lot of attention to every single procedure. And this extra 2 minutes, I can also, in a sense, understand why and appreciate it, because kneeling and prone have plenty of anchor points, you know, very settled. But standing, of course, you have only your 2 feet and, of course, perhaps the left hand. So when it comes to sighting time, you certainly want a little more time because it's just very different. You tend to shake a lot more than kneeling and prone. You
certainly do. Also, you've got this whole thing of having to check. The boots are very important. They are very stiff, but they actually test them for flexibility, and they've got to be within a certain parameter, but you do need those. And then, of course, the trousers have to go on as well, and then you've got to tighten up the jacket. This is why you need some extra time as well. And then, of course, because you've changed the sight and the sight is higher, then you probably move the sight a little bit further forward. That means you need to shoot on a different spot on the target. And that's what you need to do. You need to make sure that you are comfortable. They will zip the back of these now to make them much stiffer, because of course if you were to take a video of someone standing stock still, what they thought was standing stock still, and then fast forward the video, you see them swaying, and that is why they have these. It's an unnatural position as well. You arch your back slightly backwards for more stability, and this is all designed to help.
Yeah, well, all this is going on, you can see that there's a certain amount of physical exertion, and that's what one has to neutralize, stabilize before the final bit of competition starts. But I think Coral is very quickly in position, and a couple of them do this quickly, get more sighting time. A couple take it easy and just make sure that their pulse doesn't really go up too much and have a little less sighting time. So take your pick. Every style is okay. These guys are the best in the world, and they know what they're doing.
It's all very well and good getting up to the shooting position quickly, but what you do need to do is make sure that your equipment is as you want it. So, you know, like you say, there is that balance to be had, and That's a great shot of just, it's a beautiful, beautiful rifle. They're beautifully made. The stock is obviously made to their specification. The cheek plate as well, as they like it, at a certain height. I mean, you could talk for a long time about how you get ready for this standing part of this competition. But let's have a quick look at how it's gone so far. Everyone arrives, of course, full of hope and expectation. The kneeling is the first, and then down into the prone, of course. And this woman has excelled. We're very impressed with Nina Christian in both kneeling and the prone positions.
Well, at that stage, Vukasinovic was doing pretty well too, and it's a shame that she's moved down to the middle of the pack now. But as we have been saying, Vukasinovic in the last shooting position of H is competing in the first 50-meter three-position World Cup final. So, and she's still very young, so give her some time.
And of course, the Chinese athletes not excelling when they were kneeling and shooting, but as soon as they came down into the prone position, all of a sudden they started, I'd say inching on there, they kind of charged up with some really, really strong shots. And it was Jolin Beer who was struggling. Quick glimpse there of Koro of Kazakhstan, who's still in the hunt. He's in third place at, equals second place at the moment.
Sorry about this, but I'll have to say that the Chinese shot up the rankings, the positions.
It was bound to happen at some stage this week, wasn't it?
I was holding it back for quite a while, but the one who's been consistently bottom two is perhaps Gang Kuyak of Mongolia. I remember her going to third spot once, but she'll have to be very careful that she, or hopefully, the standing part of the three position is her strength. We'll see. Jolin Beer, of course, is the one who needs to really pull up at this stage, because after doing so much hard work, and she's a pretty celebrated athlete, you don't want to be the first to exit.
No, in fact, first two, of course, in this competition. Normally in a lot of the shooting finals, it's just one by one they leave. For this, the first two leave after the 8th series of 5 shots. Remember, for standing, it's 250 seconds.
Just a reminder of the equipment they use, very, very precise. And Richard, just to even get close to owning one of these beauties, I suppose you'll have to be a pretty top-notch shooter, but extremely technical, very precise. And look at the engineering involved in these top guns. In fact, if a shooter is to somehow, God forbid, lose his or her gun, they can get really upset.
I tell you, when you're on a flight with a load of shooters, they're all looking out the window, making sure that their rifle is being packed into the underbelly of the aircraft, and they test these. This obviously the factory, they made by robots, put together very carefully by humans.
About to say that's human, but yeah, precision equipment, that's for sure. And you'd imagine that it would be easy to replicate a weapon, but so finely crafted is it, and custom crafted, that just to get another one in case one is, God forbid, missing, just takes very long to get organized.
Well, and also a lot of athletes absolutely hate having to change their rifle. And this is important as well. You've got to make sure every time you load it that you're getting the same result. So they do test this. They test a lot of the equipment, of course, before it is handed over to the athlete, and that is the result. And just look at the sight, for example. How many moving parts on that?
Well, I mentioned that earlier. The rear sight is a piece of engineering marvel, precision.
And at these events, you don't see it very often if you're watching our television coverage, but at the back there are several stalls with manufacturers showing their wares to shooters and coaches.
30
and if
seconds.
you go to some of the places at the home of some of the manufacturers, like in Shotgun, for example, in Italy, yeah, it's a real fair happening out the back as well as the finals.
As there should be at every major event. And of course, it does draw a lot of attention, attracts those who may not be competing here at this stage, but all those spectators as well.
It's quite fascinating.
Yeah,
it really is.
Fascinates them to just see the equipment. Okay, so we're on the business end now. We're through with kneeling, through with prone. We're into the final section of standing in the women's 50 meters rifle three position. Chen leads for now.
Yeah, and just a reminder that we'll have Series 7 and then we'll have Series 8, and at the end of Series 8 we lose 2 athletes who have to take their seats very gingerly in those jackets, of course, and sit next to their coach, who no doubt will proffer some words of commiseration, and then we carry on with the athletes we have left. After each shot there is an elimination, so after each shot, not each series.
On the right of the frame, the young 21-year-old from Serbia, Sanja Vukasinovic. She's in the middle of the pack right now. She would say fourth, just 0.4. No, that's 2.4 behind Coral, so a lot of work to do. Perhaps the podium positions are already settled, but of course, such as the swing, particularly in this final standing discipline, that nothing is assured at this point of time. And leading for the moment, Chen on screen. 0.6 ahead of Nina Christen of Switzerland, who's been very steady.
And bear in mind, as we said, there's 2 series of 5 shots. After that, each shot you would see someone leaving. Look at the grips. You saw, I think it was Chen with the palm, and now you'll see Christen with it on the knuckles. Very individual decision, that, as to what you're comfortable with. It would seem uncomfortable to have it on your knuckles, but a lot of athletes do that.
Well, Chen didn't begin too well, 9.3, but we have said this is a very tough, or the toughest part of this event. 9.1 for Christen, who moves up. Dvorak with a 10.4, so that will certainly help her a bit. She was not very well placed earlier on. Welcome back, Dvorak.
There will be a lot more variation in these, because of course there is a lot less stability than in the other 2 shooting positions. Beer still struggling with an 8.9, and then in the early 9s as well. But
Chen with an 8.3, and that'll drop her down to 3rd position. That's a critical error for the Chinese, who came back so well when we were going through the prone, and lots of other results which are not particularly good. But Dvorak coming in with another 10.0, so the Slovenian is now racing up. Remember, she went to the Olympics but didn't do well. Rio 30th, London 36th, but she does have a bronze here in the World Cup in this discipline.
Coral of Kazakhstan still second despite an 8.7, but that's dropped her down. We'll just see how much damage that will do. Of course, we have to wait to the all 5R shot, but there she is with her second shot, and a 9. Well, she really is struggling at the moment.
Yeah, it's well, they've been at it for quite a while now, and I did mention that there would be a little level of fatigue, and standing's no fun after being prone. So we'll have to understand that there's the highest level of inaccuracy here. Here's Christen.
Well, she shot a 10.7 last time, and she'll be looking to continue that grouping after a poor first shot of 5. 9.4 from her. She won't be happy with that. And bear in mind, some people will not fancy the standing part of this, and they will start to slide down the rankings. So until we get to the end of Series 8, which is the one after this, you don't really know. I think Beer is gone, and she's done and dusted, I'm afraid.
She did have a 10.4 last, Jolene Beer from Germany, but I think she is so far behind that she may not be able to sneak up into 7th position. Vukasinovic, the other one, who really hasn't gotten a single decent shot here in the first series of standings. So she, the youngster from Serbia, continues to be in trouble.
Chen, at the far end of that picture there, is dropped down into 3rd place, but she's there or thereabouts, and her compatriot, she is having a bit of a time of it. 9.9 the last one, and this,
but Coral is the one who's gone a 10.9 standing. That's a very special effort, middle of middle at 50 meters standing. That's an outstanding shot.
Well, it is, and it's surprising after 2 in the 8 ring and 1 just in the 9. So she's really variable, and she's shot another 9.9 after that. So it's all sorts from the athlete here. Stop. And she a little shake of the head as well. She just got to compose herself for the 8th series.
Chen comes racing back with a 10.7. She had lost a position, went down to 3rd, perhaps even threatened a 4th, but she's back in 2nd spot for the moment. Well behind, 1.1 behind Nina Christen.
Well, bear in mind, the last 2 will leave after the next series of 5 shots, so there is a little bit of a gap between the Mongolian athlete and Vukasinovic and Beer. Beer in a lot of trouble. I mean, if she shoots consistently high 10, she's got a chance, because you never quite know. But you know, and then after that, with the single shot format, that'll mean that really If you're anywhere at the bottom with a gap, you're in a spot of bother in terms of
it can lead to a
podium
very
places.
quick exit, yeah, for
absolutely.
sure. So disappointing that Jolene Beer couldn't pull herself back up the German after 2 bad shots earlier on. Well before in the series. Vukasinovic is ahead of Jolene Beer, but 2 will leave, so she's under grave threat here of an early departure. But Gankoyag of Mongolia seems to have done enough. She's only 0.6 behind Shi Mingyao of China, and those 2 might survive for the moment.
Well, for the moment, we've still got 8 at their stands. It won't be like that in another, well, we've still got almost 4 minutes to go. It's 250 seconds.
Well, Jolene Beer, the first off in this final series of, well, 5 before we have athletes leave, and she starts with a 9.8, so that's not going to help the German.
Kristen with a 10.5. That keeps her at the top of the pile at the moment.
Well, she is beginning to reassert her supremacy, isn't she, the Swiss? Chen with a 10.2. That will not help her close the gap between her and Kristen. And also a very good shot by Shi, 10.4. So the other Chinese is not giving up, even though she's in the middle of the pack for the moment. Here's the leader.
Yeah, 25 years of age, only just turned 25. She has experience of an Olympic final in this competition, so that will help, you know, in terms of controlling your emotions and knowing that you can do it.
So Coral is the one who's also putting in another decent string of 10.8 standings. That'll move her to 2nd position. Yelizaveta Coral, 10.8's magnificent.
Yeah, she has been so variable, hasn't she? The one before was just in the 10.
Well, just a little more about the Kazakh shooter, Coral, who's now moving steadily into the podium position. She's got 4th and 5th in the World Cup earlier on in this discipline, but no medal yet. Today could be her day. Watch out for Coral.
Yeah, she just has to, as they say, keep calm and carry on and just worry about each shot as it comes. Some athletes will have a little look at the scoreboard. Some will just look at what they've scored in the last on their monitor down at their feet and then just carry on.
Well, in position C on the right of the screen, Shi has also gotten a 10.8 last shot, I think, or 10.7 it was. So that will certainly help her stay in contention. She's 1.2 behind the 3rd position for the moment.
Well, Chen actually now has the scoring has put her back up at top. She in 4th, so from being 7th and 8th, they are now in a much better position.
Well, the one who continues to be in trouble is Vukasinovic, along with Jolene Beer, who is almost certain to begin an early walk in this final. And oh, you can still see the disappointment on her face. 2 bad shots earlier on and could never come back, sadly.
Well, I think both these athletes are destined for 7th and 8th, and the first walk back from the shooting positions. And you can, yeah, like you say, Beer, I think she put her safety in already, possibly. She's certainly shot her. She finished with a 10.4, which is the sort of shooting you need. But a little shake of the head there. She knows that she's going to be making way, and I think.
And regardless of what Vukasinovic does now, I think she's out as well, because too much of a gap between her and Gankoyag from Mongolia.
Well, almost 3 points. So yes, we have confirmation of the first 2 athletes who are going to make way. It is well, Vukasinovic actually drops down into 8th position after those series of 5 shots, and Jolene Beer of Germany takes 7th. It would be much consolation, I don't think, to the German athlete that she just leapfrogged her Serbian competitor to the side of her. But, well, you know, there'll be other days and other World Cups and other quota places for the Olympics. All these athletes can take a quota place. 2, of course, are available in each final.
Also, Beer shows a disappointment. Not so. Vukasinovic, who's only 21, we've said before, her first appearance in an ISSF World Cup 50-meter 3-position final, so she seems to have taken her exit with a reasonable amount of calm. Still young, plenty of time. The Mongolian and Slovenian Ziva Dvorak continue to be in trouble next. And remember, the exit now is pretty rapid after every shot.
So 50 seconds for that as well. So, sorry, Jared, just 50 seconds to get the shot away. The clock has just started. Vukasinovic, well, you wouldn't have thought she'd have finished in 8th place when she was leading earlier on in this competition, but that's why it's a marathon and not a sprint. But now it does become more like a sprint in the last 200 meters of the race.
Well, all these three have been doing well. Chen on the left, Coral in the middle, and Shi on the right.
10.6 from Kristen will certainly help and keep her actually in the lead. She leapfrogs a couple of athletes, Coral with a 9.2 and Chen with a 9.8.
Yeah,
So
Coral with a 9.2. So they're slipping a bit.
And well, it was close, but Gankyun of Mongolia couldn't keep herself in the race. Dvorak saves herself 10.1, enough to keep her in this competition, but it is Gankyun of Mongolia who takes 6th place rather in this competition.
Yeah, she was always living a little dangerously, always around 7th or 6th, and well, she will take no more part in this. Gan Koyak, he had a 9th place in Rio at the Olympics and a bronze in the World Cup in Rio de Janeiro in 2016, but here finishing 6th. So next, Ziva Dvorak, too far behind the 4th position, so I don't think that she may be able to try and get a better position here. She may be next to go, Dvorak.
Yeah, we'll see. Dvorak and Coral are the two in danger, although Coral only 0.1 behind Chen in 3rd, who's 0.1 behind Shi in 2nd. So we will see. Christian 2.3 ahead in the lead. Coral on the left-hand side is in 4th place, and we'll keep an eye on Dvorak as well.
Oh, Coral's done extremely well at 10.7.
Oh, but
that will help.
Yeah, Dvorak with a 10.8, but it's not enough. She was hoping that there might have been a mistake by Coral, but that 10.8 propels her into 2nd place. From being in danger of leaving, she's now on the podium at the moment.
Well, good for her. So Dvorak now, despite that 10.8, will have to leave the arena. And let's see whether she shows any emotion at all. 5th place, still a distance away from podium. She seems to be fairly well composed. And it's the Chinese who's next in trouble. In fact, they're both the same, the two Chinese, Chen and Shi. So it's a shootout between the Chinese, but they're only 0.6 behind Coral. This is very interesting now. The next one to drop off will miss a medal. The two Chinese are in there fighting against each other, and Coral just 0.6 ahead. So it could swing anyway with this next shot.
For the next competition shot,
well, they're separated, the two athletes, by Coral, who's in 2nd place.
I'll have to say, Kristen's moved smartly ahead, so she's almost assured of goal at this point of time, but very close between Coral, Chen and Shi.
You're a brave man. Yes, you're right, unless someone shoots horribly, you know, Kristen, and then Coral can take advantage of that. But anyway, we're worried and concerned with who might take 4th place and who will get on the podium.
We'll be showing the two Chinese, but remember, Coral is just 0.6 ahead. Chen, what was that? She also not doing too well with the 9.9, so we'll see whether Coral can stay ahead, and
yeah,
of course, no danger of elimination.
10.1 from Shi will keep her in this race, and it's Chen who, well, blinked, perhaps not literally, but at the last hurdle, and yeah, she certainly will be very disappointed with a 7.4 when a podium place was there for the taking.
Well, certainly some nerves there. Shouldn't have been. She's 30 years old, Chen Dongqi, and of course she has a gold at Gabala in the World Cup. Some time back, though, a good 4 years ago. And the World Cup final, a 5th place. So she has seen how the podium looks in the past. Is not going to happen today. Chen Dongqi of China now drops to 4th, and we now have the podium finishes. Very close still between Coral and Shi, while Nina Kristen, I have to say, has dropped just a bit after that previous shot of 9. Yeah, well, I hope she's not bent on proving me wrong here.
Well, there's 2 shots, aren't there? So, you know, she needs a couple of solid shots and she'll be fine. But, you know, one wayward shot and somebody else shooting a 10.8 or 10.9, and then you're in trouble.
I have to say there's some level of nerve and perhaps fatigue, because the shots, the scoring has dropped in the last couple of shots into the 9s and low 10s. So Kristen has shot
a 9.8, but a 9 from Coral means that she is sitting pretty at the top, but what can she do? If she can
shoot,
if she can shoot a decent 10, oh no, a 9.9 from she, and so Christian still sitting top of the pile at the moment. She thought she might be in a spot of bother when she looked down and saw a 9.8 on the monitor, but she's now a point ahead. But what we do know is it is Coral of Kazakhstan who will take the bronze medal. Her best ever placing in the World Cup. She was 4th in Munich and also 5th in Munich, and she's gone one better and she'll get a medal.
Well done. So a smile, even though she's out for 3rd, but well done. So she takes a bronze. Now 1 point the difference between Kristen and she, and we know that in the standing position with the last shot, with a certain level of fatigue and pressure, things can change. One shot, 1 point, no guarantee. So Kristen will have to just hold her nerve here, and she
for the next competition
1 point
shot,
the difference. It'll have to be
low
a 10.5 and a 9.5 or so.
And then we go to shoot off. Well,
start.
Well, we'll have to say it's for Kristen to win.
Absolutely. You've got your fingers crossed after saying that she will win, so let's see. I think you're probably right, but just needs to keep herself calm. The 25-year-old, she's had better pressure, more pressure than this. She's been in an Olympic final.
Who goes first? Kristen does. 9.9, that's not too good, but she will need a 10.9 to tie. That's not likely to happen, and Kristen should take gold. We'll see. She taking her time.
It's a 10.4, it's good, but it's not good enough, and the cheers are from the Swiss contingent as Nina Christen takes the gold medal, and I think she's quite happy with that.
Well, she should be. Clearly the best shooter of the day, equally good in all 3 disciplines, we'll have to say, or all 3 positions. And there she goes, raises a rifle in triumph, getting past Shi Mingyao of China by 0.5 of a point after an hour or so of shooting. So it has been a marathon, and she's come off best after all 3 positions. But she, well done from possibly 7th and 8th after the first few series to now finish in silver.
It just goes to show that some athletes really are just waiting. They're holding on to the standing position, and then they can start perhaps to make some ground up. But that is how it has finished, with Coral of Kazakhstan with the bronze, Shi of China with the silver. But a great victory, and she led for a long, long time. Very comprehensive for Nina Christen of Switzerland.
Well, so Jamie down there just identifying Coral for us, got a fair amount of applause. She will have, Meng Yao that is, will have plenty of teammates here, and a bit of applause for her, but I think the loudest will be reserved for Nina Christen. Goal 0.5 ahead of the Chinese. Yeah, there we go. Nice to see a fair amount of people here at the Dr. Karni Singh Ranges, despite the fact that no local Indian, that is, made the final in this event.
Absolutely, and nice to see some emotion from the Swiss shooter. You've got to bottle it all up and keep calm for an hour, and then a little fist pump, get the blood pumping around the body, and I'm sure there'll be a good old party tonight. And they're heavy, those jackets. So
a little bit of extra weight lift.
So he's done well, because yeah, it's excellent. The coach happy, and it's nice to see the athletes happy for each other as well. Beer happy to see her neighbour, so to speak, doing well.
Well, 6th place at Rio 2016, but with an Olympic quota, she'll certainly be there in Tokyo. Will Nina Christen, and she'll hope to better that 6th place in the Olympics, because much as these World Cups and World Championships are very, very important, I dare suggest that the Olympic medal still retains a different kind of luster. Here's confirmation: Olympic quotas for Christen and she.
Yes, and they worked very hard for them, didn't they? As we said, it's over an hour of work for a chance to get on the podium. Of course, everyone arrives hoping that it's going to be their day, and they're going to be on the top of the podium. And it's hard to tell, as we say, when we start with the kneeling position. 5 shots in each of those 3 series. Some of these athletes excelling more in this than others, but it certainly was the fact that Christen led from the front early on. The Chinese left themselves a lot to do after the kneeling position, but started to pull themselves up by their bootstraps when it came to the prone and the standing positions.
Well, the Mongolian Gan Kuyak did pretty well to stay away from the danger zone for most of the event, but we just caught sight of the youngster Vukasinovic, who began pretty well but eventually faltered to be one of those who exited a little early. And of course, Jolene Beer just couldn't pull it back after a couple of difficult, imprecise shots earlier on, which is a little strange considering the amount of experience she has.
Yeah, the Chinese athletes either side there, of course, of Korol. They started to haul themselves up from the prone position up into the standing position. Continual improvement from then. And then, of course, Vukasinovic started to falter. This woman didn't falter at all. Not always top, but always in touch with the leaders. That was Nina Christen of Switzerland. And I'm sure everyone back in Macklingen, place of residence in Switzerland, will be absolutely delighted as well.
We've got quite a big contingent here too in New Delhi, and you can see that celebration, collective celebration at the end of the event. Chen continued to do really well till she faltered in the last shot to the left. Vukasinovic, who was the first to exit because of a poor final shot, and Beer, who's world number 9, was left shaking her head because she couldn't quite pull it back after, what was it, an 8.5 and a 9 something earlier on.
But she was okay kneeling, but as soon as it went to the other positions, she fell away. And well, as we predicted, the Chinese then started to creep up, and they were, of course, shooting for positions. Korol, in the end, taking the bronze ahead of Chen. She with the silver,
yeah,
but only one woman
too much to do.
taking the celebrations, and what celebrations they were. Nina Christen, who was solid throughout, and that is how it looks. Not only a gold medal, top of the podium place for Nina Christen, but Olympic quota as well, and she takes the other quota, Korol, with the bronze.
So we're through with the 50-meter rifle 3 position for women. It's all settled, all done. Olympic quotas, medals here, and of course just the memory of being the final of a major event at the ISSF World Cup. So coming up then, 10-meter air pistol for women. That's in a while from now. We hope you enjoyed our coverage, and do join us again shortly for this final.